We always go to what needs to be improved, don't we? But if we bathe our mind on all that God has done first and all the wonderful things and actually write those out, we are now ready to have a right mindset, to hold our thoughts captive in the obedience of the Lord, to actually be able to think about in a constructive way, not a negative way, the areas we need to improve.
You know, at the beginning of every year, everyone has their New Year's resolutions and they want to change things. But oftentimes we don't think about our entire family and what it means to rethink the way we're doing things as a family. Give us an overview of what it means to recalibrate your family culture and why do we need to have a vision for our family as parents?
Well, it's always been important, but it's more important than ever. The speed of change is accelerating and we're launching children into a different world. You know, I would say they're unprecedented times and there's a lot of reasons I could back up for that. But what do you want your children to be able to do in the future? Well, we actually don't know. You might know, but we actually don't know for sure. In fact, the most important skill is resiliency. And so if they are resilient, then they're constantly going to need to be recalibrating their direction and thinking through. And as a family, we need to model that. So it's fruitful for right now, right, this year and so forth. But it's also you're training people by them watching your example of what you're doing for their futures and what they do with their families. And so I think that's a big deal. I think a word just to share with people is culture. And you know, obviously I was in the business world for a long time and culture of an organization was always very important to me. And I just brought that straight to my family. Culture is the unwritten rules. It's the real behaviors. It's the habits. It's the attitudes of a group. And it's not what somebody says it is. So in a company, you have a leader saying what it is. In a family, you have the parents saying what it is. And usually, like if you're talking to someone else, you'll naturally talk about the rosy parts of what your family's about and the good parts. And that's okay. That's fine. But the culture is not that actually. The culture is what truly is when no one's looking within each member of that group. And so I think it's important to recalibrate that because if you don't, it's naturally going in a mediocre direction unless you're purposely moving it in a positive direction.
Yeah. So you talk about the culture of the family. Explain exactly what you mean by that. Like if you were to look at the culture of the Tolpin family, what would that look like?
Yeah. So think about that. Everybody listening, think about your children right now and think about the real attitudes they have. Is it of sharing? Is it of trying to build strong relationships with their siblings? Is it to obey mom and dad? Is it to be thinking about new things they can do in a positive way? Or are they getting stuck into maybe mind-numbing things that aren't as positive for them? And so it's analyzing and going, okay, what are the areas that really need to improve in our family? But let me back up for a second, because before you do that, we always we always go to what needs to be improved, don't we, in our minds and so forth. Yeah. But it is so important to bathe your mind actually in all of the wonderful things that God has done. And Yvette, you had a challenging year in some ways. And I would say for the Tolpin family, there was a mix of real challenge and real good. And I'm sure the same for you. But if I was just to focus on the challenging things as I'm doing this exercise, then what would happen is the outcomes wouldn't be as good. But if we bathe our mind on all that God has done first and all the wonderful things and actually write those out, we are now ready to have a right mindset, to hold our thoughts captive in the obedience of the Lord, to actually be able to think about in a constructive way, not a negative way, the areas we need to improve. And so those are kind of two beginning points to start navigating the direction we want to go.
Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.